Now, Canada has a rich history, one that has been filled with unity and cooperation and tolerance. But like all nations, we have our flaws. And we'll start off today's news with, on a humble note, with how not everyone celebrates Canada the way many do. And we recognize that through this report by Eagle News correspondent Ashley Sakmar.
Earlier this week, Ontario officials announced the details for the upcoming Canada Day celebration, discussing safe ways to celebrate the national holiday amidst the COVID-19 pandemic. Here's Premier Doug Ford with the announcement.
And to show our thanks to the people of Ontario and celebrate this national holiday in true Canadian style, we're giving everyone a chance to explore our great province. Ontario Parks will be offering free day use at all provincial parks across the province, from north to south, from east to west. And we're also allowing free fishing for the whole family starting this Saturday, July the 4th.
Canada Day, previously called Dominion Day, is celebrated by many Canadians every 1st of July. The Government of Canada calls it a day for Canadians to show their pride in their history, culture, and achievements. However, Canada Day is not celebrated in the same way by all that live in Canada. For many of Canada's Indigenous people, Canada Day is not a cause for celebration. According to former First Nations Ontario Regional Chief Isidore Day, on his 2017 statement released for Canada's 150th celebration, Canada's anniversary represents years of assimilation, genocide, neglect, and marginalization. Ultimately, this makes it very difficult for us to come out and celebrate. Canada's history goes farther than the creation of the Dominion of Canada. The Government of Canada writes that the history of First Nations, Inuit, and Métis is essentially the very history of our country, as they are the first people of Canada. Even before the country's official creation in 1867, North America was already home to many Indigenous people. Throughout Canada's history, Indigenous people were forced to assimilate to standards set by the British administration. According to the Government of Canada, this new perspective was based on the belief that British society and culture were superior. Chief Day explains that because of this, Indigenous people share a history that is painful and is filled with raw memories, which remain in our communities from our elders through to our youth that must never be forgotten, downplayed, or misrepresented. For many Indigenous people, another reason to not celebrate Canada Day is the Canadian government's platitudes and lack of meaningful action towards reconciliation with Indigenous people. Rather than celebrating, Chief Day explains that he regards Canada Day as a reminder that when working in true partnership, progress can be made. Canadians and First Nations must work together to ensure the next 150 years are worth celebrating together. The Chiefs of Ontario make this call for all Canadians. Decolonize by learning the true history of Canada and Indigenous history in your local area. Learn about and celebrate Indigenous people's history, culture, pride, and diversity, acknowledging the land you live on and its importance to local Indigenous communities, both historically and today. Though it is important to find ways to safely celebrate Canada Day during the COVID-19 pandemic, it is also of deep significance for Canadians to remember that this country's history did not begin at Confederation, and that it goes further than 153 years back, and with the true first people of the true North, strong and free, the Indigenous people. In Toronto, Ashley Sakmar, Eagle News, we live in interesting times.